Welcome back into the Rowdy Studio. I'm Stephen Levine. Tom Vandervoort is on the end as usual, and Bob Pockrass, NASCAR reporter for Sporting News, is here to talk to us about this lawsuit wherein a driver of Puerto Rican descent who was trying to become part of the Drive for Diversity program and did not successfully make the team said, look, the reason I didn't make it is because I didn't look diverse enough, and was suing NASCAR and the company that manages Drive for Diversity on NASCAR's behalf. Yesterday, it was determined that NASCAR was not culpable in this case. Give us the background and then talk about yesterday's decision.
Okay. Well, the background is that you have a 15-year-old kid from Pennsylvania, had won a couple of karting championships, has won some late model races, got invited to the combine for the Drive for Diversity, and he never got to drive. And he says that when he went to register, the people registering said, you can't register for your sister. They didn't even believe that he was in the program because he looked too Caucasian. And then the next day, when he's supposed to drive, he apparently hit his head, or at least that's the story, and he asked for some aspirin. And one of the people from Access, the people who run the program, said, well, you're too disoriented, you can't drive. And so he never got a chance to go out on the track. And he and his family believed that this was a decision made because of the way he looked. And they had heard some very distasteful comments about him, and throughout the weekend from people associated with the program. And they said this is why he didn't get to drive, and it's also why he wasn't chosen to come to the combine in future years.
So now, but this has been settled.
This has been settled, and what happened is that the family settled with the company Access, who NASCAR had hired to run the diversity program. They settled, and the portion of against NASCAR was dismissed.
Now, is there any agreement that he would get to participate in the program, or is there any admission of wrongdoing?
They have not released terms of the agreement. He told me yesterday that this will allow him to do some racing, and he's 22 now. This all occurred when he was 15 and 16, and then he hasn't raced in 3 or 4 years because he hasn't had the funding, and because all the people. They say they had a lot of community support, and they were all kind of like, well, you know, we tried to support you to get through this program, and now this program isn't even allowing you in, so how do we keep supporting it?
So when you say that this will allow him to do some racing, that is, we believe, because of a financial settlement?
Correct. Okay. Correct. They would not tell us how much, but they say they've been talking to some ARCA teams, and they hope to get him in an ARCA car.
What is the future of the Drive for Diversity program? Does this affect it at all? Is there any black eye? Or
well, first off, the group that was running the diversity program no longer runs the diversity program.
So the group involved in this suit is no longer running the program.
And not as a result of this suit that happened before.
Right, and the fact NASCAR and this group have actually sued each other over how much NASCAR owed.
You know what, Bob? I think I'm just going to sue you, while we're sitting here.
So it was interesting to see NASCAR and their former group, who they had sued each other, now on the same side.
Right.
Trying to argue. So does it hurt the program? I don't think it hurts the program. I mean, it's now Max Siegel runs the team, and the program in the past at this combine, all these short track teams and East Series and West Series team owners would come and watch, and then they would pick the drivers. And now they've totally revamped the program where Max Siegel has a race team, and that race team fields the drivers.
So whoever comes out of this program will get a chance to race.
Yes, they get a chance to race, and now...
As opposed to it being an audition, basically.
Well, I mean, they still audition, but now...
Not everybody gets
it. Now they know the team that they're going to race for, as opposed to maybe not really knowing the owner who's getting a stipend from NASCAR, but not really sure, you know, are they going to be able to make it to all the races?
Right.
There's a huge story we wrote on Sporting News about kind of the history of the program and kind of the, you know, what have been the hurdles to finding a successful person out of this program.
It's interesting. I mean, does this raise any issues about what you're talking about is the hurdle? How do you take a program like this, which is intended to take people from cultures or cultural backgrounds that don't seem to ordinarily be involved in racing, and to help them get going in racing? It's not a matter, I don't think, as much of sort of discrimination or fighting against active discrimination, but more like cultural diversity and trying to include people who typically don't find themselves in racing.
Well, and it's a product of, you know, I mean, you look at a guy like Ryan Truex has won 2 NASCAR East titles, and he's struggling to find sponsorship to run in the Nationwide Series.
Right.
So you're not, I mean, no matter if they're successful, it still is a struggle to get sponsorship. The drivers in this program are facing the same hurdles, even if they're successful, as any driver out there.
And they're pretty big hurdles right now.
Yeah, they sure are.
Yeah, Darrell Wallace Jr., who's probably the highest profile guy to come out of this program, is now running in the Nationwide Series and doing fairly well.
Yeah, and Joe Gibbs has said, though, that he is surprised they haven't been able to find more sponsorship for Darrell.
All right, well, that's Bob Pockrass, Tom Vandervoort on the end. Thanks for watching. We'll be back with more.